Hey everyone! If you honestly believe the bull market just packed its bags and left, that XRP already hit its ceiling and we're done here, I need to stop you right there. You're mistaken. Seriously mistaken. Thinking crypto's finished, thinking XRP's finished, that's just not what's happening. Here's what's wild to me. The entire mood has done a complete 180 in, what, a handful of days? Yeah, you're seeing this too, aren't you? You're scrolling through social media, you've got your finger on the crypto heartbeat. You know what I'm talking about. Everything changed, just like that. Days, not weeks, not months, days. A bit of liquidation drama pops off, some typical market turbulence, and boom. Suddenly, everybody rewrote their entire narrative. All the predictions, all the confidence just evaporated and turned into something else entirely. But wait a second, none of this actually adds up. It's completely illogical, and I'm about to break down exactly why. Hold on though, let me hit you with the disclaimer real quick because it matters. I've got zero financial credentials, nothing. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial guidance. Whatever you decide to buy, sell, hold, that's on you, not because of anything coming out of my mouth right now. So let's just get straight into this because seriously, the last few days have seen an absolute flood of analysts, crypto media people, and social media users all screaming that a bear market is coming. Being bearish is basically the vibe right now. It totally is. You know how you can usually tell when bearish sentiment isn't cool? Bears stick their necks out and immediately get absolutely destroyed in the comments. Not happening right now though. Being bearish is the trend. Everyone's doing it. And if all these people actually turn out to be correct, we just experienced what might be the most pathetic bull run crypto has ever seen. Seriously, think about this for a minute. Bitcoin didn't even manage a proper 2x from its last cycle's all-time high from years ago. XRP and Ethereum barely squeaked past their previous peaks. Neither of them had that crazy face-melting rocket ship price discovery phase that's literally never happened before. Okay, well, XRP gets a pass because of the whole SEC mess, but from a pure historical standpoint, this is bizarre. And another thing, where the hell was alt season? That euphoric alt season we all expected? It just never showed up. And all those reliable signals we've used forever to identify market tops are apparently broken now if these bears are actually right. So for instance, Bitcoin dominance. That stubborn thing never actually collapsed. It really didn't. Sure, it dropped a tiny bit, but a legitimate breakdown didn't happen. That's not how this usually goes. That's definitely not how this usually goes. We've literally never seen that before. Oh, and here's a fun one. Those 30 crypto market cycle top indicators that coin market cap tracks, not a single one went off. Also never happened before. Let me actually show you the site for everyone tuning in. I've referenced this multiple times and I'll keep bringing it up. Check it out. Crypto market cycle top indicators, all 30 are laid out on the right. See those X marks everywhere? That's because not one has been triggered. So apparently every single one just stopped working out of nowhere, despite nailing it in every previous cycle. But suddenly they're all broken. Just because. No real reason, just because, folks. Are you buying that? Does that actually make sense to you? Oh, and social media sentiment while we're at it. Let's touch on that real quick. Social media never exploded into that crazy, irrational, bullish frenzy. Also unprecedented in history. So basically, you're looking at a giant pile of this time is different logic, if that's the camp you're in, you know? But wait, there's more though. Bitcoin and crypto in general completely ignored global M2, which happens to be at an all-time high as we speak. Like right this second, all-time high levels, and it's happening at the precise moment in the cycle where it's always tracked before. So, yep, add that to the list of firsts. This is actually huge because real talk, global M2 is the single best indicator out there. At least that's my take for predicting where we're actually going with this. And listen, I'm not saying it's a magic crystal ball or anything, but if you force me to choose only one thing to watch, that's what I'm picking every single time, then there's the whole business cycle thing. Crypto has literally always peaked right when the business cycle tops out. So if we've genuinely hit our peak already, that's yet another first, because guess what? We're not even close to topping out the business cycle. And look, I could sit here all day listing examples, but you're probably catching my drift by now, right? So sure, suddenly everyone and their cousin wants to be bearish, but you know what though? The chart analysts I personally trust, they're not the type to just flip-flop with whatever's trendy. That's the whole reason I pay attention to them. Their track record speaks for itself. In reality, just one chart analyst I follow has come around to thinking we're likely sliding into a bear market rather than riding this bull run further. Only one person. And clearly, if you're sitting there hoping your XRP is about to launch into some wild final moonshot, this is hands down the thing dominating your thoughts right now. It's certainly dominating mine. Everyone's glued to this conversation. Can you blame them? I sure can't. Just think about Friday's liquidation chaos. Totally bonkers. I completely understand the anxiety. So what I'm going to do is break down several recent developments and show you why there's a legitimate reason for optimism. Not just because I'm desperate for the bull market to keep going, though, yeah, obviously I am, but because, truthfully, I believe continuing the bull run is what's actually most likely here. Now, having said that, I do follow several analysts, including some traditional finance folks who think there's a legitimate possibility we're about to see a pretty serious pullback, which would naturally crush both stocks and crypto. And this could potentially materialize pretty quickly. But here's the key thing. Not one of these people I follow, literally zero, believes it would signal the end of this bull market. And corrections during bull markets, just to be crystal clear here, they're completely normal. So I genuinely don't buy into this whole things are different now narrative, and it also makes zero sense to just fixate on chart patterns and make sweeping predictions without looking at the full context. Look, if you're trying to figure out what's really going on here, you can't just sit there looking at charts and pretend like the rest of the world doesn't exist. I'm talking about the macro picture, the environment we're actually in, all the stuff I literally just laid out for you. And you definitely can't ignore the fact that history has this weird habit of repeating itself. Here's what I mean. When you drop people into similar situations over and over, they're going to do the same thing every time, like clockwork. That's the whole reason history keeps echoing itself. We're all wired the same way. Same human DNA, same emotional triggers, same knee-jerk reactions when things get wild. So going against that, yeah, not exactly a brilliant strategy. All right, before I break down what's been causing all this chaos over the last few days, I've got to show you something that's going to blow your mind. If you're watching this and you're not behind the wheel or doing something dangerous, seriously pull up your screen right now. You need to see this. We're looking at every single bear and bull market in US history, stretching back to 1942. And the data stops at 2024, which actually makes it look even more impressive because, you know, this year has been pretty decent despite some wild swings along the way. This is my entire point right here. History doing its thing again. Check out what this says. This time is not different. This chart tracks the S&P 500's daily performance through every bull and bear market since 1942. When you study how markets expand and contract throughout history, you start seeing why staying invested for the long haul makes so much sense. All right, so check out these numbers because they're actually wild. Bull markets run for about 4.3 years on average and deliver a massive 149.5% return. Bear markets, they only stick around for 11.1 months and drop about 31.7%. So you're going way up for way longer than you're going down. The math just favors the upside, period. But here's where it gets interesting. Look at this chart for a second. See all that blue? Those are bull markets. The little yellow patches, bear markets. From 1942 until now, we're swimming in blue almost the entire time. And I went digging for more data because I was curious. Found something going all the way back to 1928. Ready for this? 78% of the past century has been bull market territory, just 22% bear market. That's almost 100 years of history telling the same story. Now here's why this matters for you. Crypto mirrors the stock market's movements, and the S&P 500, that's our window into what's really happening. 500 companies painting the bigger picture. So put it together, crypto follows stocks. Stocks trend upward over time, and we spend most of our time in bull territory. That's why freaking out about XRP or any coin makes zero sense if you're playing the long game. The temporary dips, they're just noise in a much bigger upward story. Look, even if the bears nail it this time, I'm pretty skeptical, but say they do. Say they're actually right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit tight for a few years, wait for the market to bounce back because it always does. And then I'll sell at an even better price than I could get right now. So yeah, that's my play. You do you though. Selling into a panic, that's just throwing money away. Makes zero sense to me. I'll keep making money from my job and keep buying more assets, crypto, stocks, whatever looks good, because that's the logical move when you think it through. That's exactly why I wanted to bring this up. There's really nothing to be scared of here. Fear just clouds your judgment. The HODL strategy actually delivers results when you look at the data. Just check the charts yourself. You hold through the rough patches, you keep holding when it feels uncomfortable, you hold some more, and eventually you come out ahead. You do what needs to be done. Here's the thing. You don't get to pick when markets surge upward or crash down. That's why I keep saying you have to accept that reality, be mature about it, and make your peace with what you can't control. Then focus hard on the stuff you actually can control, which, let's be honest, isn't a whole lot. You actually do control the buy, sell, or hold decision, right? So own that choice. Figure out what works for you and run with it. Me? My strategy after buying is hilariously simple. I do absolutely nothing. I'm talking through the gnarliest bear markets you've ever seen, through the SEC basically declaring war on the XRP community. I hung on to every last XRP token. Haven't touched a single one. Ever. I'm gonna white knuckle this thing all the way through. Period. That's the lever I can actually pull. Getting all worked up right now? Even if the bears somehow get this one right, it still makes no sense. But real talk. When you dig into what's happened historically, the bears are probably dead wrong here. Maybe we see a short-term drop. All right, cool. Dips are part of bull markets. They just happen. Does that mean the party's completely done? Nah, I'm not convinced. The vibe going bearish right now is actually textbook behavior after a panic sell-off like Friday delivered. Obviously, people got spooked and dumped their bags. They're retail speculators doing exactly what retail speculators always do. Nothing more to it. Listen, I've got to be real with you. The chart analysts flooding your social media feeds, most of them don't know what they're talking about. I mean, seriously, almost all of them have absolutely garbage analysis. That's just facts. You've got to be really careful about whose voice you're letting into your head. The analysts I actually pay attention to, they've earned it with pretty impressive track records. Now, don't get me wrong. Nobody nails every single call. Everyone's going to whiff on predictions sometimes, even the major ones. But when I step back and look at each analyst I follow as their own piece of the puzzle, what's wild is that when most of them agree on something, that's typically what plays out. So when I notice them all suddenly changing their tune, like they're all flipping bearish at once, yeah, I'm bringing that to your attention on my channel. I'm always going to shoot straight with you about what I'm actually observing. And right now, I'm just not seeing the reasons everyone should be freaking out. The dots aren't connecting for me in the panic narrative. Here's the thing about markets. History keeps echoing itself. I really don't think we're looking at some unprecedented situation here. And let's say I'm wrong, markets recover. That's what they do. XRP isn't vanishing into thin air. Crypto isn't becoming obsolete. The US economy will find its footing again, and the stock market will reflect that. That's simply not in the cards. Not in my lifetime anyway. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about where we're headed here. By now, everyone knows what sent Friday into a complete tailspin, right? Sure, the market was probably already wound up tight enough for some kind of correction, but the tariff bomb, that's what really detonated everything. That was your smoking gun. And yeah, I hear the arguments floating around that we were overdue for a shakeout, some kind of liquidation. Those points are totally valid, but listen, nobody saw this specific chaos coming. Not at this magnitude. This was textbook black swan territory. You can't tell me anyone had this particular disaster circled on their calendar. Jump ahead to Sunday, just 48 hours ago. Everything's already gone sideways. Trump's out there throwing around threats of 100% tariffs on everything, and then we get this bombshell. Cabece letter posts on X. It's pretty wild. Turns out investors are just now realizing the entire October 10th tariff meltdown might have been one giant game of telephone gone wrong between Trump and Xi Jinping. Yeah, China's president. The whole rare earth export control news that started this, that hit the wires on October 9th at 8:30 in the morning Eastern time, a full 26 hours before Trump even mentions it. This thing was basically invisible until President Trump decided to fire off a post about it over a day later. So last night, China put out this statement about their rare earth export controls. And what does China basically say? Look, these new controls aren't some total export ban. If you fill out your paperwork correctly and meet the rules, you're getting approved. Pretty straightforward, right? The whole freak out over this turned out to be kind of a nothing burger. But then they write something really interesting. During Friday's market meltdown, their thinking was that Trump's 100% tariff threat was just a negotiating tool. Fast forward to after China's statement last night, and now they're basically saying the odds of that 100% tariff actually becoming reality are extremely tiny. All right, I'm hitting pause here because I've got to say something. I called this exact scenario back in April when we were talking about this. Hey, April, can you please take back your dumb tariff drama? Like, can we box that up and ship it back to April? The fact that we're still discussing this is bonkers, but here's the thing. It spooked the market anyway. It totally did. And Trump's probably thinking, seriously, guys, you still haven't figured out the playbook. He drops these outrageous sounding statements as leverage. You really haven't picked up on this being his whole negotiation strategy by now. So markets can literally lose their minds like this. Honestly, it's beyond stupid. Anyway, so the biggest crypto liquidation we've ever seen and a $2.5 trillion evaporation of S&P 500 market cap looks like it all came down to one massive misunderstanding. Another trade deal should be coming soon. All right, cool. So obviously Monday happens and boom, the market rallies hard. Fast forward to Tuesday and what do you know? The market keeps climbing. But hold on, do you have any idea what just happened this afternoon? Take a look at the Russell 2000, and I'm not even kidding. This is genuinely hilarious to me. Like, I'm actually laughing while watching my net worth tank considerably. All right, here it comes. Yeah, stay with me here. This is literally just the single day chart, but check it out. It pushed higher yesterday, kept pushing today. We're looking at the Russell 2000 small caps, yeah? That small cap index that absolutely must blast through with real power if we're going to witness a proper rally season. We have literally never experienced a full market rally without the Russell 2000 pulling this off. The Russell 2000 today, right this afternoon, actually touched a fresh all-time high. Sure, it was only an intraday peak, but it legitimately reached that new record and then it didn't stay above it. Watch this. It straight up nosedived. Are you watching this? Look at that. Just completely plummeted off a cliff right there. Wait, that's bizarre. Did something actually spark that crash? Yep. The answer is absolutely yes. Turns out the president of the United States was busy dropping posts on social media. All right, so Trump just fired off a post on Truth Social earlier today. I'm like 99% sure it was 2:37 p.m., maybe 2:38. But you know what? Who's counting the exact seconds here? The second this thing hit the internet, the markets just tanked. Russell 2000 down, S&P 500 down. We were literally on the verge of watching the Russell 2000 hit a brand new record high and then bam, this post drops and everything goes sideways. So what did he actually say? Well, he's doing his whole tough guy negotiation thing again. You know the drill by now. He comes out swinging, makes it sound like the world's ending, and then eventually they all shake hands and work something out. It's like watching the same movie over and over. Seriously, how has nobody picked up on this pattern yet? It's textbook Trump. Anyway, here's the actual quote. He goes, "I believe that China purposefully not buying our soybeans and causing difficulty for our soybean farmers is an economically hostile act. We are considering terminating business with China having to do with cooking oil and other elements of trade as retribution. As an example, we can easily produce cooking oil ourselves." All right, so we don't have to get it from China. And dude, I'm going to be real with you. This is one of those rare moments where I desperately wish I could do a killer President Trump voice. Tragically, I'm terrible at it. Like, this was the moment to whip that out. Anyway, peep this Kobasi letter they dropped. They literally gave us all the receipts. Look at this chart right here. Seriously, look at it. This is the S&P 500 the instant that bombshell landed. Yeah, 2:37 p.m. Central. The stock market just, hold on. Yep, that's the one. The entire stock market evaporated $450 billion in 7 freaking minutes because President Trump was like, you know what? We're making cooking oil in America now. Like, can we just appreciate how wild that sentence is? That's comedy gold right there. I'm genuinely entertained by this whole thing. You entertained too. Despite the fact that my own net worth got absolutely hammered in the process, but whatever, I got my laughs. Look, I'm cracking up because I genuinely understand it's meaningless long term. I'm just gonna sit tight, and eventually this stuff's gonna be worth way more anyway. So honestly, who cares? All the people freaking out and panic selling can go right ahead with their questionable life choices. Me personally, I'm gonna keep doing absolutely nothing. Because doing nothing is legitimately the winning move when you zoom out far enough. I'll outlast everyone with pure stubbornness and patience, no contest. That's been my entire investing philosophy since I dove into crypto in 2017. Same approach I used for stocks before that. Just hodl, baby. That's the entire playbook. You hold until whenever. Simple as that. Ryan Dietrich from Carson Group just posted something that's honestly kind of mind-blowing. Pull up the chart because this data is straight up insane. We're about to enter year 4 of this bull market, and here's what's crazy. Like, only one time has year 4 actually turned bearish and killed the whole rally. We're talking 1966, folks. You see that little X sitting there all lonely on the chart? That's it. That's the only exception. Out of all these 4-year stretches he analyzed, just one measly time did year 4 flip into bear mode. One single time. And we're going all the way back to 1950 here. 1950. Let that sink in for a second. And it gets better. 6 out of 7 times. Year 4 crushed it with double-digit gains or higher. So if you're over there sweating, thinking, oh man, we're definitely going to crash, well, this is S&P 500 data, but crypto tends to follow the same rhythm, right? Now, hold on. Before you jump down my throat, yes, I absolutely know crypto can go completely bonkers and shoot to the stratosphere while sometimes disconnecting from traditional markets. Trust me, I'm aware that happens. But still, these patterns, they're telling us something worth paying attention to. Do you honestly think this is when everything crumbles? Because look around. Where are all those historic red flags that usually pop up right before crypto peaks? They're just not there. Doesn't that feel a little off to you? Because it definitely feels off to me. Seriously, where are the cycle top indicators? Why aren't they screaming at us right now, telling us to run for the hills? It makes zero sense. And that's exactly why I keep beating this drum. I'm not over here acting like I've got all the answers. That's never been my style. I'll be the first to tell you, I have no clue what tomorrow brings. But check this out. If I just blindly picked bull market every single day, like literally 100% of the time, guess what? I'd be correct almost every time. Go back to that chart I threw up earlier, the one showing how bull markets drag on forever compared to bear markets. If I become a total permabull and just ride that wave constantly, my win rate would be insane. Now flip it. Say you're a permabear doom and gloomer betting on crashes nonstop. you'd be eating losses basically all the time. Listen, I'm not saying go full permabull or permabear on me. That's not the lesson here. What I'm really driving at is this: spending most of your time anxious and bearish, it just doesn't line up with how markets actually behave. It just doesn't make sense. Listen, every single year, bull market, bear market, doesn't matter. You're going to have people crawling out of the woodwork trying to freak you out. It's like clockwork. These doom and gloom voices, they never take a day off. But here's my promise to you. When we actually hit that moment where being scared is the smart move, where the top's genuinely staring us in the face, I'm shouting it from the rooftops, no question about it. I've been through this 3 times now in crypto. I've called it before. Why would I suddenly change up now? I'm just being real with you, thinking we're already there. That's a stretch. At least that's how I'm reading the room. But listen, when those classic top signals start popping off, when the whole thing's looking shaky, you're going to hear it from me loud and clear. I'm not some blind optimist. I'm just saying that betting on this being finished right now, you're swimming upstream against some serious current. You want to call it quits? Cool, maybe you'll be proven right. But man, the odds aren't exactly in your favor on that one. What I'm telling you is simple. Don't tunnel vision on one indicator. Study what's happened historically, mix it up, and for the love of God, don't just stare at charts all day. All right, let me tell you about Raoul Pal real quick. This guy is absolutely huge in crypto. We're talking 1.2 million followers. And honestly, he's the one who opened my eyes to this whole global M2 thing and how Bitcoin and the entire crypto market just dance to its rhythm. It's literally the best single metric you can look at to predict what's coming next. Now here's where it gets interesting. Bitcoin doesn't react immediately to global M2 changes. There's roughly a 3-month lag, and that lag exists for a pretty obvious reason. When people, businesses, and institutions suddenly have extra money in their hands, they don't just immediately throw it somewhere. They sit on it for a bit, they think about it, they plan. Eventually, some of that cash ends up in stocks, some lands in crypto. It's really straightforward when you break it down. More money in the system means people are willing to take bigger risks. And what are we talking about here? Crypto and stocks are textbook risk-on plays. That's the game. So Raoul drops this post a couple days back, and here's what he's saying. Friday's move, whatever caused it, was a flash crash. Plain and simple. And flash crashes have this pattern. They snap back in these sharp V-shaped recoveries, get right back to where they started, and then usually blast through to new highs not long after. What happened here? We wiped out every bit of leverage that was pushing prices up. That's not opinion. That's just the data talking. Now, maybe you're sitting there thinking this time is actually different, and hey, you could be onto something. I'm not going to pretend the unlikely never happens. It does sometimes. But think about this for a second. If your strategy is to always bet on the long shot, you're setting yourself up to lose way more often than you win. So why would anyone do that? It really makes no sense. So Nigentropic just dropped this post, and if you don't know these guys, they're the brains behind Swissblock and Glassnode, 2 of the best on-chain analytics firms out there. Here's what they said. What comes next will melt faces. The most hated rally of this cycle begins tomorrow. Leverage will take time to rebuild, but momentum is about to accelerate. The opportunity cost of not being allocated here is massive. Remember, 3% of days account for 95% of returns. Miss them, and you miss the cycle. Listen, that 3% stat, that's not hype, that's reality. The absolute monster moves in crypto happen during this incredibly small window of time. You're either positioned when those days arrive, or you're watching from the sidelines kicking yourself. The only way I've figured out to guarantee I'm there, simple, just stay in the market every single day. Then there's 0 chance you miss it. Pretty straightforward stuff, right? Here's what we know for sure. This asset class keeps expanding. The momentum is shifting upward. Getting nervous now makes 0 logical sense. And if you're sitting there thinking this rally is done, I believe you're mistaken. I genuinely do. That's where I stand. I'm allowed my opinion. Could I be off? Sure, maybe. Do I think so? Not really. The bullish case here is just too strong. That's precisely why I'm sitting down to record this particular video today. Look, I'm definitely going all in on XRP content next time. I promise you that. But real talk, you need to understand this foundation first. This is precisely why I'm dead certain that everything happening right now is literally setting the stage for XRP to just explode. Here's what I can't wrap my head around. Are we really supposed to believe that XRP just chilled and consolidated for basically a whole decade, finally pushed past that 2018 peak, and then just tapped out? Like it's gonna be like, yep, that's it, I'm good, thanks for playing. Give me a break. Not buying it. Not even close, folks. When you step back and look at everything happening in the broader market, the whole macro picture, it makes even less sense. I genuinely believe we're headed way, way, way higher than people think. Could I be totally wrong about this? Yeah, of course. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have a crystal ball, but you know what? Even if I'm completely off base, it genuinely won't matter to me because I'm holding no matter what. Even if we're waiting another 4 or 5 years for the next bull run, I'll still be here. It's all going to be fine, folks. So please don't panic right now. There's just no good reason to be scared. When you actually sit down and think about it logically, the fear makes 0 sense. XRP recovered to $2.49. After that liquidation happened, we're in good shape. All right, thanks for hanging out and watching this. I really appreciate all the support you guys give me. Just remember, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't go buying or selling stuff just because I said something, okay? That would be a very bad move on your part. See you in the next one.